What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about today. We're going to talk about Iran. We're going to talk about Karen Bass with her sorry, ashy elbows. We're going to talk about trans athletes in sports because it's getting out of control. And Mangiani, or whatever his name is, that idiot that shot the CEO of United Healthcare. There's new developments in that case. There's one more thing that I think we got to talk about. I thought I missed it there. Aliens. There you go. We're going to have a conversation about these aliens and all the aircraft that the government is telling us that they're seeing and releasing. We have to talk about all of these things on today's show. Welcome to the Officer Tatum Show.
I want everybody in this room to have that same spirit, that same identity carried in your life.
Make sure that you go through life and find your purpose.
And we don't do this just to get a pat on the back. We do it because we came here to win.
And it starts with you understanding that God has a purpose for you.
This is the time to be more bold than ever before.
We're all Americans at the end of the day, and we should love one another. We should be focused on what's right for our country.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, ladies, welcome back to the show. I'm going to give a shout out to Guest Room. They helped put this podcast set together, allow me to do the show from this studio. So I appreciate them. Thank y'all for the help. I want to say a quick shout out to the membership. All the guys and gals that are members of the Officer Tatum membership program. I thank you. I appreciate it. I think we got some more deputy chiefs as well. We've gone up in members, and I appreciate every single one of you guys. And I hope that you enjoyed the Stephen A. Smith interview. It was fun doing an interview with Stephen A. Smith, and hopefully him and I will be able to have more conversations just like that. I think that's about it. Like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure y'all hit the like button. All of that stuff is very impactful to the live stream and the success of the live stream. So let's get into the first topic of today. We have to talk about the Iran war and some of the updates. Donald Trump is crazy. Can I just throw that out there? He crazy. And it's twofold here, right? There's the crazy that you love and you say, thank goodness he's crazy because people don't want to mess with a crazy person. And then also you wonder, if you cry wolf too many times, are they going to really take you seriously, right? You say, I'm going to turn that thing into a parking lot. I'm going to obliterate Iran. And then you never do it. Then what happens? So let's get to some of the updates and hear what Trump has to say. Roll it.
The Middle East remains on edge, waiting to see if the war will resume in the days ahead. President Trump overnight on Truth Social posting a new warning for the regime, saying for Iran, the clock is ticking and they better get moving fast or there won't be anything left of them. Time is of the essence. The president's post comes as reports indicate the Iranians have submitted a revised proposal to Pakistani mediators aimed at addressing some of the gaps in their previous response that President Trump described as a piece of garbage.
Therefore, from the very day after we sent our points to the American side via Pakistan, we were faced with a series of proposals from the other side, which have been reviewed over the past few days. As was announced yesterday, our own views have in turn been conveyed to the American side.
While diplomatic efforts play out, the economic situation in Iran is getting worse each day due to the ongoing U.S. blockade of Iranian ports. CENTCOM says more than 80 commercial vessels have been redirected and 4 were disabled to enforce the blockade. A senior Israeli official told Fox News that early signs are developing of a fuel crisis in Iran, with long lines at gas stations being observed. It's getting exponentially worse, that official added.
The economic situation is very, very bad. I mean, for 3 months now, the situation has completely deteriorated. Ever since these protests happened and the dollar price went up. Then, after the war started, the shop was basically closed for nearly a month. And now the situation is extremely bad.
The U.S. military buildup across the Middle East does continue, with more transport planes arriving in the region each day.
Well, this is one thing that I think strategically America has an advantage over. And this is why, for all the people that cry about us being in Iran, as if it's going to be a never-ending war, these are clear signs that I think that Donald Trump has leverage in this war, and Donald Trump is at least in communication with the Iranians. That to me gives me a good sign that it's not going to be 20 years. All right. And then here's also a good sign. Every single other person that's running for office or want to occupy the presidency, whether it's Democrat or Republican, all are not in tremendous favor of the war. So if anybody thinks that the war is going to continue on, when Donald Trump gets out of office, people can take measurable steps in removing our troops and removing our activation in the war. But at this point, we are in a high leverage position. And I'll add this because I want to cover all my bases. Do I want us to be in war? No. I wish we could focus our money, resources, and efforts in the United States of America exclusively. However, all these other people exist outside here. right? All these other people are doing their business, doing their deeds, and their decision making will affect us if we don't take action. But here's President Donald Trump giving his statement, at least online, about the bounty that was allegedly put on his head. Here's an article right here that we have present, saying that the Iranian parliament working on a bill that proposes a $50 million reward for killing President Trump. Now, put this in perspective. This could be BS or it could be real. If it is real, this is not the first time Iran has proposed to kill the president. Now, how is it that Iran is not a direct threat to the United States of America if they're proposing to kill our president? I don't care if it's Trump or anybody. You're proposing as another country to kill the leader of the free world. You must be crazy out of your mind. You're a threat, and we should take every action necessary to eliminate you as a threat or your threat capacity. And so this is what Donald Trump had to say about the bounty on his head. Roll it.
They also issued an assassination threat against you over the weekend. I know that you can't talk about what's on the table, but what is your response to Iran's leadership in the regime continuing to taunt you, threaten you, especially given over the weekend you said it's time for new leadership in Iran?
Well, they shouldn't be doing it, but I've left notification. Anything ever happens, we're going to blow the whole country is going to get blown up. So we've, originally Biden should have said something, when they made a statement. We always said, why isn't Biden saying anything? Because he didn't. But a president has to defend a president. Like if I were here and they were making that threat to somebody, not even a president, but somebody like they did with me, I would absolutely hit them so hard. But I have very firm instructions. Anything happens, they're going to wipe them off the face of this earth.
And this is President Trump also making a meme, or I don't know, he's some edited photo that he put on True Social where he depicts the entire Middle East is going to be the United States of America. I think that's what he's showing. Obviously, he's joking in that sense, but I will say I'm in full support of us destroying Iran from the face of the earth if they try to kill our president, or at least kill him. I mean, try to kill him, we should be able to thwart that effort. But if they were somehow to be successful as assassinating the American president, that is grounds for us to take extreme action. Because if you don't, then what? Then it emboldens other countries to get activated to say, you know what, we can kill diplomats and we can kill people in the United States of America because they ain't gonna do nothing. You're gonna force our hand. It's like somebody, you running, that's like me running into somebody in the street. And it's like, look, I don't want no conflict with anybody. But if you get in my face, you're going to make me have to take action. And then you're going to take an L. Do you want the L or do you want to just go about your business? And Iran needs to think very pragmatically about their approach to this, because you mess with our president, it's going to be the end. And I think they know that. That's how Nick Shirley got out of Cuba. You think they didn't want to keep Nick Shirley in Cuba and put him in a prison cell? Because they're afraid of the president. You put Nick Shirley in a prison cell in Cuba, that'll be the end of your country. All right, let's get to one more clip, I think. Is it one more clip that Trump had to say?
Nope. Next story.
I guess it's not a clip. Okay. All right, let's get to the next topic, and that is Karen Bass, Ashy Ash. We got to talk about her because she's the most idiotic person that's a mayor of any city that I know of. Maybe I can go back to the evaluation table and decide, but she is the most nonsensical, idiotic leader of any city that I've ever heard in my life. Why is it? Well, let me show you a clip and you tell me, does this make any sense whatsoever? But before we get to the clip, we have Nick Shirley's mom making a comment about giving teeth to meth heads as taxpayer dollars or to fund that. Let me just say this before she get on here. It does not make any sense for hardworking Americans to bust their ashy elbows to make revenue. The government takes an exorbitant amount of taxes, and then you want to give it to people who are making the willful decision to rot their teeth by using drugs. I don't understand that. But then you have people that may have some type of illness, people that may have been mistreated as children, the family not making sure they get dental care, and then they lose teeth or they have some type of dental adversity. But the government ain't gonna help you. The government gonna let your teeth fall out and rot and let you get cancer and all kind of other stuff. But they're gonna help the meth head and somebody that's using fentanyl. And they're going to give them brand new veneers, and that fentanyl going to wear the veneers down. And all with your money. Let's play the clip from Miss Shirley. Roll it.
The mayor of Los Angeles, California, yesterday gave us all a little dental hygiene lesson. She told us all that if you use meth, your teeth are going to rot out of your head. Then she said there's a lot of people in Los Angeles that don't have teeth. They don't have teeth because they used meth and their teeth rotted out of their head. And without teeth, you cannot succeed in life. She said, we need to get these people new teeth so that they can have a chance in life, so that these meth heads can succeed in life. And Karen Bass, who's going to pay for the teeth for the meth heads? Well, the taxpayers are going to pay for the teeth for the meth heads. I know a lot of people who never use meth who would like to get new teeth, but they can't because it is so dang expensive to go to the dentist and to get new teeth. But Karen Bass would just say, yeah, no problem, the tax.
Perfect. People are going to get mad and go, hey, she don't know what she's talking about. Karen Bass didn't say that. All right, come on, pull it up. Come on, I got the evidence. Come on. Run it up. Here's Karen Bass. Roll the clip.
How many people who are unhoused that you meet have no teeth at all? They don't have teeth.
We'll start the clip over. Unhoused is the craziest term I've heard. Why do y'all change the terminology? Can't you see that this is trickery? Can't you see that these people are manipulating your mind so they can then thrust you into foolery? They're homeless people. They're drug addicts. Meth addicts. Quit saying unhoused. What does unhoused mean? Some of these people are choosing to live on the street because they don't want to abide by the laws. They don't want you telling them what to do. They want to be off the grid. They want to get high, and they want to be zombies. They don't want to have to abide by anybody's rules. Quit acting like the person that has come upon hard times, a person that may not have anywhere to live, is the same as a meth head on a corner blowing drugs all day. But they want to use terminology to trick your mind so they can push all these crazy policies on you. Finish the clip.
How many people who are unhoused that you meet have no teeth at all? They don't have teeth. Why? Because meth rots your teeth. You can't succeed without teeth. So there needs to be comprehensive health care provided to people.
Like, am I tripping, bro? We're going to get to the alien thing because it's coming up in my mind. It all comes together, and you'll see why I'm saying that. But I don't understand how grown adults listen to this woman and they don't feel like, I'm not a violent person, but proverbially, they don't feel like slapping her in their mind. Because when you say meth rots your teeth, how are people going to survive without good teeth? That's why we need better health care. Wait a minute. How about you not use meth and then we don't have to worry about your teeth? Like, she's acting like the teeth are the problem, not the person using the meth intentionally. All right, we got another clip of her doing another interview. Roll it.
Also on homelessness, at the pantry earlier this week, you were talking about comprehensive health care for the unhoused. And you talked about how many of the unhoused, because of their meth use, lose their teeth.
That's right.
Who would pay for the dental care for the unhoused?
When I say comprehensive health care, it's actually what people can get from Medi-Cal. The problem is that the linkage isn't made with the people and the services.
So
and
that would be
that
taxpayers?
System, well, we already pay for it. It's already paid for. It's the linkage that hasn't happened.
The reaction to that, though, was, why isn't the mayor doing more to address the meth use in the first place? What are you doing to address the drug use so we don't have to pay for dental care?
And let me just 100%. Let me just tell you that when I came in, we started, even though it is not the city's role to provide health care, it is the county. That was not enough for me. I said we have to provide it ourselves. So we took lawsuit money from tobacco and we established contracts with drug-related organizations, substance abuse organizations.
Time out.
And so
Time out. Why? I do not understand the logic here. Why do you think it's important to utilize that money to do this for crackheads and meth heads that made the decision? And if they were the only people in the society that are struggling, I'd say, yeah, that makes sense. But there's everyday Americans who are working hard every day, taking care of their families, and they're struggling. And you could utilize that money for people who are actually adding value to society. Handle and deal with those people first, and then you can get to the meth heads and crackheads who don't want to do anything with their lives. And some of them may want to do things with their lives, but it's not our fault that they decided to hit that crack cocaine. And I don't like to hear people act like it's an illness. There's never a point in my life where I thought I'm gonna go smoke crack. Why? Because I see crackheads on the side of the road, and I'm like, that's what happened to you when you smoke crack. So why would I go? And I'm having a hard time in life. I don't want to look like that. And so I don't smoke crack. And I don't do fentanyl. It's really that simple. And I would argue 90% of people in society aren't doing crack and fentanyl. Why don't we help people? Here's the mathematical equation that I think makes a lot of sense. And if I was running or I had full control over these cities, this is the way I would apply. People that are not contributing to society in a meaningful way, you get resources last or not at all. The people who are in that middle ground, where they're trying their best to contribute to society, but they just need a little bit of help, that person takes precedent and priority. So therefore, the single mom who has 2 kids that's working every day, and she's barely making it because childcare costs a little too much, that person, to me, should get more help than the person that's smoking crack on the side of the road, that's going to just smoke up the resources. I don't know how this is not like common sense. But anyway, I think we got some more stories to talk about. Was that the last clip from Karen Bass? I think it is.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's get to the aliens. I've been waiting to do this show, and this is this part of the show for like 3 days now, and this is probably going to be the bulk of the show. Y'all give me a timer on here so I don't go too far. I really believe, and I want you guys to hear me out on this, because this is far bigger and more important than about anything else that I have said up to this point. There are multifaceted approaches to understanding this alien thing. And I want to address each one, and then we're going to show some clips about the alien discovery and everything. And I think I'm going to interview Tim Burchett. I think I'm going to interview Tim Burchett, however you say his name. I think I got him on the list to interview him. However, we have to talk about this. First and foremost, let's establish this as Christians and believers. And this is my statement to you. Don't get mad. Don't just listen to me and take it in, accept it or not. I really do believe that the discovery of extraterrestrial beings, aliens, if you want to call them, these UFOs, is not a front to the Christian faith. If anything, it is that we are not perceiving God correctly or the things of the Bible correctly. It's not that this is counterproductive to the word of God. There's nothing that exists that is outside of God's understanding. And I honestly believe there's nothing that exists that's outside of God's articulation to mankind about its existence. The difference is that you cannot find yourself being so sold on an idea that you're not open-minded, which means if somehow we find out that there's creatures and stuff that's on this planet, and we find out that this was created by this and this and that, you don't lose faith in God. You understand your interpretation of what God was trying to tell you from the first place. Because I see that people are going to be, I think people are resistant. They go, well, there's no such thing as aliens because aliens aren't in the Bible. Are they? You know, this can't be true because God, you have your mind fixed on this is what God is. And then when there's other new things that come about, you want to either pick one or the other instead of interpreting God in the perspective of God may have been telling us about this. The way we see God may not be a guy with a beard sitting in heaven on a throne, literally. And I know people are not going to want to hear this. I'll do it in the post show where I explain it a little more in detail, because I honestly believe the Bible is true. I believe that Jesus Christ told us the truth, all of the above. But I also believe that man has tried to create God in his image instead of us understanding what God is. Because there are so many things that have gone on. When you understand how vast the universes are and all of that stuff, you have to then reconfigure how you are perceiving what God is and who God is. I don't believe God is a man sitting on a throne with 2 eyes, 2 ears, and a big toe. I think God is a lot more vast and more not understandable than what we are trying to perceive. God is everything. Energy, feeling, I mean, you name it, that's God. And somehow God finds a way to communicate with human beings. And that communication, we try to perceive who God is. Now, let me get on, because y'all going to get mad at me about this whole thing. So let's get on to some of the TMZ interviews. Roll the clip.
Member of our government has told you and others, I guess, that there is a form of alien life and machinery which maybe brought this living creature here that interacted in some form with people?
Yeah, they have, and they've. It's pretty wild. I know, but I'm just telling you, I'm not going to lie to you. I'd take a lie to tell you. You want to put me on a polygraph, I'll take it. But this is what the guy told me. I mean, I've had a very high-ranking naval official describe. I've talked about this before. Underwater craft, something big as a football field, moving at over 200 miles an hour. And there's no fish in the ocean that would do that. We don't even have a sub that'll probably do 40 miles an hour under the. And the last thing he said before he left my office was, it was kind of weird because he didn't go out he went out the side door, which nobody ever uses. And he looked at me, he pulled me up close, and he said, "Tim, they're real." And that's the last thing he said to me. That'll be the title of my book, I guess. Matt Gaetz was involved in something here just recently. He was interviewed, and he talked about this interbreeding thing with.
We saw that. We saw that.
Well, that's a true story. That was military personnel. I think that would be a good story to talk to him about if you all can do that.
Right. He says he learned that from someone in the military.
Yeah, absolutely. The guy was an officer in uniform.
Yeah.
And Matt and I and Representative Luna, we all went down to Florida, and we were turned away. And then Matt made a phone call to somebody at the Pentagon, and all of a sudden they opened the doors and brought the pilots in that were supposed to tell us the story in the first place. And he can probably elaborate a little bit more on that. But that was pretty fantastic. That was a made for TV special right there in itself.
So let me talk about the other. When I said initially it was multifaceted, you have the spiritual side of it, where I want Christians to not get all crazy and feel like they got to lose their faith and get confused. If somehow we find out that there's some stuff going on out there that have been communicating with people and all of that stuff, just be mindful that there may be things that we didn't understand. Put that in the context of Scripture. But then you have this other aspect where you wonder, is the government playing games with us? Because it's very suspicious how all of this stuff is coming out at once. What is it that they're trying to do by releasing this stuff right now? And I'm not saying that it is or isn't. I'm just saying that you got to keep your mind open to the possibility that it could be something afoot. Don't just be hook, line, and sinker and believe in everything you see. Because I'm concerned that the release of this footage and some of this random footage without context, it's not anybody releasing footage and then sitting down and doing a Q&A with the public so we can ask questions. It's footage being released, and then people are now using footage and AI and doing all kind of stuff. And now it is a confusing mess. You don't know what's real and what's not real. You don't know if somebody's used AI. You don't know if it's somebody that really observed the aircraft outside of an airplane, or they've used, AI technology to present something, because it is viral. Like if I went and you didn't know who I was and I was working with another person to try to make them famous on YouTube, I would have them go down the conspiratory hole of aliens. And they can say whatever they want to say because people's minds are just now primed to believe anything at this point. So it's very concerning to me that the government could be lying to us, and all of this AI stuff could be perpetuating the issue. Now, if the government isn't lying to us, the question is, what is it that the government is holding back from us? And can people deal with it or not? Some people want the government to just release everything, right? And let the people decide. I would love to believe that to be true. I think it's always good to be transparent and for the government to let the people know what's going on, because we pay them, right? They can't hold secrets from us. But I'm also concerned that humans, most of them, brains doesn't work right. meaning that they're easily manipulated and they're easily feared or scared into certain things. Meaning that if they release some information that aliens are living amongst us and have certain demands, let's just say aliens are saying by 2 years from now, you better do this or we're going to destroy the planet. If that was even floated as an idea or even lied to the public as an idea with some type of reference point, the world would go crazy. When COVID happened, you saw everybody buying toilet paper. There's no toilet paper and there's no reason to go in a store and deplete the store of toilet paper. It's asinine. People go and use up all the water supply and all this other stuff because they're afraid of something that may not be true. And that's why I think the government is very apprehensive to release some things because the average person cannot handle the truth. People like you and I can, but we're only less than 1% of the population. So let's get to a couple other videos because I want you guys to kind of see what's going on here. Roll the clip.
A trove of images showing decades of unidentified objects is sparking curiosity.
500 million people in 14 hours looked at those government releases on the website.
We've seen videos have been verified, et cetera, et cetera. What we need is, okay, let's open the holding tanks where the craft are, or the biologics.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to.
We've been working on this because it's been a national security issue, but it is real. I mean, I don't know what it takes. That formal admission of the facts, the formal admission of the unknowns, people need some sort of defining of these terms. We need to know what we're talking about. Congress is asking for 46 videos that they know exist. If we can just get that out to the American public, that will start the process.
How does it feel to be part of the community that is maybe feels a little bit less fringe now?
All I care about is that the truth gets put forward to the public and not like further deception. Tell the truth. Let's move on. The American public can handle it.
Now I'm gonna get to the next few topics because we're running out of time. But this is one thing that I want you guys to pay attention to. Everyone should have a healthy skepticism of the government. Now, I want you to pay attention to how people react to this alien thing. People, unfortunately, and maybe subconsciously, are biased. And so if the government is doing things you don't like, you don't trust them, and everything that they do is suspect. But if it's something that you want to be true, somehow we believe the government. What I'm telling you guys is to keep your mind open for any possibility. Because now that they're releasing this UFO stuff, somehow people believe that the government is somehow releasing factual stuff. How do we not know the government is not releasing fraudulent video footage? But some people don't want it now because they want aliens to be real. So they believe everything the government is doing, and they believe and they're going to take a hook, line, and sinker. I would argue, just like the moon landing and all the other stuff that people have questions about. Okay, now you guys releasing this footage. Are you trying to trick us? Are you guys covering something? Is this real footage? Can we verify this? Is this legitimate? Or is this some psyop thing that they're doing because they're getting ready to do something over here and distracting us? I'm not saying that it's happening. Just keep your mind open. Let's get to the next story because I can beat the dead horse of the alien invasion, but I want to get to something different. What's our next story? Oh, the trans athlete. Let's look at this real quick because I think this is an important topic that every American should be talking about, and every American should be standing behind young women to address this issue, especially. And I'll say this. The biggest problem here is not the trans, is not the trans activists. It's the parents of the people who are not trans that are the problem. Why do you say that, Mr. Tatum? Why are the parents not making more of a fuss about this stuff? Why are the parents not holding press conferences and saying, look, this is unfair to our daughters? It's unfair. It's not about hating anybody. It's not about being mean to anybody. It's that this person is a biological boy that identifies as a girl. So biologically, they're going to compete like a boy. And they're going to blast these girls. Let me give you an example real quick. You're looking at the picture right here. Why is the trans person always number one? You're not going to see them in place 2, 3, 4, 5. Why is the trans person number one? We all know why. And then here's another thing that you can consider. Why is there never the reverse in the trans world of athletics where you have a girl that transitions to being a man? Why is she not number one on the podium in any sport? I will put my life on it that you would never see a girl who transitioned to a man in competitive sports podium on any level, anywhere, anytime. You'll never see it. And somehow the reason that people are upset, because every time you see a trans boy, a boy that transitions to a girl, they're winning almost every single sport in every genre. Swimming, track and field, cycling. If they did basketball, they'd be beating the brakes out of these girls in basketball. Let's roll the clip.
Just swept 3 events at a high school girls track meet and is now one step closer to a state title. Max Gordon has more on that from Los Angeles. Max.
Hey, John. Transgender track and field athlete A.B. Hernandez is back in the headlines after winning 2 California state titles last year. The SoCal high school student took first place in the long jump, high jump, and triple jump yesterday at the CIF Division III Southern Section Finals. But she shared those wins with competitors that were born as biological females. Last year, California high school track officials implemented a policy where cisgender female athletes are recognized as co-champions if a transgender athlete wins a girls' event. Hernandez has become the target of protests at track and field meets where she competes. Here's A.B. Hernandez's mother.
Publicly identifying and targeting a minor child in this manner created an environment of fear, humiliation, and emotional distress, not only for my daughter, but for those around her as well.
Those protesting Hernandez's participation in high school girls' sports say it's about fairness. Protesters have also raised locker room privacy concerns and say they're standing up for female athletes.
We believe in you. You're not alone. Our daughters deserve safety. They deserve fairness. They deserve their sport. They deserve their dignity back. Justice for our girls is not an option here in California.
The Justice Department sued California last year, arguing the state is violating Title IX by allowing transgender athletes to compete on female sports teams. According to the California Governor's Office, the state is one of 22 in the country with laws requiring students be allowed to participate in the sex-segregated sport that is consistent with their gender identity. Meanwhile, Hernandez will move on to the CIF preliminaries next Saturday to face the rest of the state's top female jumpers.
So let's put this in perspective. Then I think we can go to another story. We could probably add the clips in post-production, but the fact of the matter is, this person won state multiple times. This person is now going on to the finals as the #1 contender from that division. If that don't tell you everything you need to know, I don't know what will. And it's unfair to women. Think about this for a minute. This will never happen, but if I had a kid that was trans or whatever, you know, they confused, and just say that somehow I fell and bumped my head and I think it makes sense to transition my kid. If I were to transition my kid, at least have the dignity of fairness to say, my child is one child. What about all the other hundreds of thousands of kids at this school? It is not fair that I think every single kid, every parent, every school should capitulate to my one child who's confused about his or her gender. You are selfish. The parents, the kids, they're young. They don't know what's going on. But as a parent, you are a selfish, evil individual. Whether you are doing it intentionally or unintentionally, what the results are is selfishness and evilness. That's like saying that my kid had a short leg. Somehow my kid was born with a short leg. And I think every sport on every level should change their rules and regulations for my kid. The only kid in the whole city, I think everybody should change. So when you run the 100-yard dash, you have to run the 100-yard dash with one leg. Or you have to put an extra pad in your shoe so everybody that run track have to run with a gimp leg. Just because my child has a short leg. That's what they're doing. They're saying, okay, my child is this way, so everybody has to change everything that they believe and do. All the rules have to change because of my child. As a responsible adult, you go, hey, sweetheart, hey, son, it is unfair to do this, so you can't participate in these sports because it's unfair to everybody else. And I know that you have this challenge and you're an individual. We could find other things for you to do, but doing sports is just unfair because you were born a boy. And you have a biological advantage over these girls, and it's not fair. I will say this as I move on to Mangiani, or whatever his name is. What is it? Mangiani. I will say this. I do appreciate that the state has made an effort after screwing everybody, they made an effort to say it would be a code recognition, because the trans person winning and the girls second, third, and fourth is completely unfair. At least they're trying to do something where they're saying that they can be co-champions, which means that they at least acknowledge the girl that have won first place for real is at least a first place person, and therefore they can move on to the finals and they don't get screwed out of the finals. All right, let's get to the updates on Mangiani, or I think that's his name. I always say it wrong. Luigi. I'll just call him Luigi. Let's get some updates on Luigi, because the police made a big blunder here. It's not going to interfere with the fact that he's guilty and he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison. But this is just an example of how police can mess things up if they don't process things properly. Roll the clip.
Judge Caro says that search was illegal. He apparently, in his ruling, says that was not proper because there wasn't a search warrant at that time. So he has ruled that the items found in the backpack at the McDonald's will not be included in the trial, and those include the bullet magazine, a magazine full of bullets that Officer Wasser found, as well as a journal, a cell phone, well, a passport, a chip. So it's the bullet magazine, his cell phone, his passport, his wallet, and a computer chip will not be allowed into evidence. What then happened was Wasser turned off the body camera, drove 11 minutes to the police station, and that's when Mangiani was processed. And as part of that inventory, Officer Wasser found the gun, a handmade 9mm weapon. Apparently, under this ruling, that will be allowed to be in the trial. That the gun, the weapon that police say was used to kill Brian Thompson, the United Healthcare CEO, will be allowed into evidence. But what is not being allowed is, as I've said, the magazine full of bullets, as well as some of the other items that Mangiani had. It was a fascinating suppression hearing that went on for about 2 weeks here, as the defense has gone through every point with like a toothpick. Challenging every single step that police officers made, arguing that when they were talking to Mangiani at the McDonald's, that it was illegal. They did not have a search warrant. Under the law, they pointed out that if you can grab something, police have the right to go through it, so that they don't want you to lunge at something and grab a gun or something. But if it is not in your control, then they don't have a right to go through it unless they have a search warrant. And Judge Carroll ruled that because the backpack was moved 9 feet away from Mangiani, it was placed on a table. That meant that the backpack was not effectively in Mangiani's control. So because he did not have control over the backpack, it was illegal at that point for police to go through his backpack and search it without a search warrant, in which Christy Wasser, the police officer, found the bullet magazine and then rummaged through it for other.
We got the point. And this is what I will say, as a former police officer that have done investigations, this was a blunder by the police department. Thank God they still have the murder weapon that can be introduced to the trial, because without a weapon, beyond a reasonable doubt, may be a question here, and this idiot may have gotten off after he just killed the CEO of United Healthcare. But here's what we learned a long time ago, and this is the problem with police officers not being fully trained. Because what they did was, after they had him detained, they tried to use the argument for their safety. They can go and rampage through his bag. Now, if he had the bag right next to him and it was in proximity where he could actually grab a gun or weapon out of the bag, they can say, look, let us just look through the bag to make sure there's no weapon in it, and you can keep the bag on you, keep the bag next to you, or whatever the case may be. But when the bag is not even in an appropriate distance where he can access anything in the bag, you cannot just rummage through the bag and then say, oh, I see indicia of a crime. Now I can go through the whole bag to find it. They were wrong. They violated. They should have took their time. They should have methodically went through the process so they don't get things where you can't utilize them in court. It's really that simple. You ask a person when they're detained, hey, is it okay that I go through your bag? If the person says yes and they're not coerced, you can go through the bag, and if you find evidence of a crime, you can process that. If they tell you no, you're gonna get access to the bag if the person is the criminal. If the person gets arrested, there's a thing called search incident to arrest. That means that if you arrest the person, you will then have access to the person's belongings to search through them as you put them into evidence. But because cops messed up and did the wrong thing, they prematurely looked through his bag without a search warrant. You cannot do that. And if you do, the evidence will be suppressed in court. This is how people get out for murder because of police officers doing the wrong thing. This is policing 101. Slow down. I remember when there were times where we had a guy that I knew he was a drug dealer. I knew he had drugs on him. But just because I know he has drugs on him don't mean I can somehow arrest him and take drugs off of him. When I say no, meaning that I don't physically see, but I know the person's a drug dealer. I'm pretty sure they have drugs on them because they always go with drugs. But what happens? I have no violation. I have no reason to search the person. I stop on a consensual stop. They tell me, go F yourself. Am I being detained? And I have to say no because they're not detained and they drive away. Now, a reasonable, smart officer that understands his or her job will say, I will get you next time. So I'm going to catch you one day. I'm going to catch you slipping, and then I'm going to get you because I know you're selling drugs. A bad officer says, I'm impatient, and I'm going to violate your constitutional rights to then arrest you because I know you have drugs on them. Then when I find the drugs, I'm going to make an excuse of why I detained you in the first place. That's called stupidity. That's how criminals get out. And officers that are stupid enough to do that should get fired and probably go to jail. So anyway, that's just my little rant. I had to throw that out there because what's his name? Mangiani. I forget his name. What is his name?
Luigi Mangiani. Luigi Mangiani.
Yeah, Mangiani. Luigi Mangiani. This Luigi thing could end up being a horrific incident if somehow this person killed a CEO of a company and then he gets off because cops are too stupid to do their job. All right. I think that's the last story. Dummy of the day. Let's do dummy of the day, and then we're gonna go from there. There's two candidates. There's two candidates that are dummy of the day. I'm gonna quickly go through these two candidates because I don't want to waste too much of your time. And then we're gonna go on to post-show clarity, so I can give and I have to talk about in post-show clarity this God concept. And I have to talk. We have to talk about this because I think it's very important for Christians. All right, let's get to the first dummy of the day. Roll it. So here's the Negro spirituals acting an ashy elbow in Chipotle. Here's another angle of it. And I wanted to play the audio so you can hear the girls cheering them on. All right. Why did they make dummy of the day? I almost think their parents should be dummy of the day. Obviously, the White House staff or whatever you want to call it, I forget it, Judge Jeanine Pirro came out and made a statement about it and stated that they're going to start going after the parents of these kids, which I think is appropriate. But I want you to consider this. Everybody that called me an Uncle Tom sellout coon, that I'm always talking bad about black people, I want to see if they have posted anything concerning these takeovers. You're not only damaging the reputation and image of young black people, you're also committing crimes. And I don't understand why more black leaders and people are not talking about this. This is more detrimental to the health of our community than a white man on his own social media platform saying the N-word. But if somebody or a comedian in the roast of Kevin Hart, a comedian making fun of George Floyd, y'all will have a press conference about somebody making a joke about George Floyd, but you won't have a press conference at 40 young black boys and girls fighting and acting a fool inside of a Chipotle, committing massive amounts of crime. Many of them are going to get arrested and potentially have a record. Why are we not concerned about our young people doing that? The education of our young people and the proliferation of criminal behavior in our communities. But you're worried about a joke and you're worried about what white people are doing. That's the part that bothers me. We got another dummy of the day. maybe we'll save this dummy of the day for tomorrow, but keep it on here so people can identify what we're going to talk about tomorrow. 2 young idiots tried to do a home invasion and it went south for them. I wish it had went more south, but God spared them. But when are we going to address this issue? Why these boys in this video look like they're probably 15, 16, 17. When are we going to start addressing the fact that where are your parents at? That you out in the middle of the night acting like this? Where is these people's parents at? Back in the day, when we would do something like this, we would die. Okay, you understand me? My dad would murder me if I got caught robbing somebody. I wasn't even afraid of the police. I was afraid of my dad. And I honestly believe he would kill us if we got caught doing half of the stuff these young boys are doing. All righty. I think I've said enough for today. Thank y'all for watching and joining me. We got a little bit of post-show clarity. We're going to do about 10 minutes of it because we were kind of running low on studio time. So I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you like, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't joined the community, make sure you hit the join button, hit the join button, hit the join button. And also post-show clarity is available for everyone on Fridays. So on Fridays, even if you're a rookie, you'll have access to post-show clarity. I don't know, man. I may talk to the team. Maybe we'll have it available. We'll do a survey. Maybe we'll make it available to everybody every time. We'll see. So appreciate you guys. I didn't do any promotion of none of our stuff, Verdict, anything like that. So I forgot to do it. But if you're interested in the best bourbon on the market, Verdict Bourbon at verdictbourbon.com, go and hit the QR code to get some of the bourbon. It's everywhere. We have Fleming's everywhere. And it is an incredible bourbon. I'm very proud of it. If you're looking for energy that's sustainable and you need help sleeping, Shenergy Life is the best supplements on the market. Give it a try. Money back guarantee. If it don't work for you, send it back. We'll give you money back. And also, I just want to say this last thing. I want to do something special for one of our employees that just passed. I'll figure out a way to do it. I want us as a community to help his family in any way that we can. Obviously, I'm gonna take care of his family in a significant way until certain things transpire. But if you guys want to help out in the efforts, I'll give you more details. Maybe we'll just stick to just the community. But we had one of my most loyal, one of my employees that had been with me from the very beginning. He was struggling, had a battle with cancer, and he was on hospice, and 2 days later he passed. But I'll say this, he was a Christian man. He believed in God. Last time I talked to him on the phone, I think I talked to him on the phone 2 days before he passed. He was in good spirits, and like most Christians and believers, they understand the assignment, and that I believe that he went to heaven, and I believe that when he passed, it was peaceful. And he was laughing and joking with me. Literally, I had to tell him to stop working. He literally was sending emails the first day he was on hospice. And I think he died 2 days later. And what a great man. He was a great man, had a man of integrity, always nice, always happy. I just love Ron, man. And he's passed away, and we love him. And for the members, I want to do something for his family. Whatever that is, man. I just really want to help his family out. And if you want to help, I'm gonna help. But if you want to help and join me, then that's fine. We'll set something up. I'll talk about it another day. I just found the news out today. That's why I'm talking about it. But anyway, y'all hold the phone. We'll get to post-show clarity.